Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Drawing and Talking with me, Freebie Wits. Now before we begin, I'd really appreciate it if you'd comment and subscribe, but more specifically subscribe, then comment after seeing the video because I don't want you to comment without context of what's in the video. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's move on to the character I'm drawing. And the character I'm drawing today is Mary Newbound, a character specifically set in the My Hero Academia universe. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to see a trend here. I am drawing a lot more female characters than I have previously. It's a new pattern, and it's not a bad thing at all, despite how I might sound. If I sound apprehensive, it's not because I don't like drawing female characters or I don't want to draw female characters. It's just because, well, I'm not really used to it. But I think I'm starting to get a bit of practice in. Keyword here being a bit. So, like I said, My Hero Academia character, she has a pretty cliche story in that her parents or parent figure, her dad's a villain, killed her mom, got busted for owning a big crime ring, and then ended up killing himself. So yeah, bunch of cliches, evil parent, everyone's dead, she's an orphan, and now she's a good guy in the UA Academia. UA Academy? My goodness, my pronunciation is terrible sometimes. Anyway, so cliche storm aside, she's fine, I guess, as far as characters go. She seems pretty cool. If there's one thing I will criticize her for, it's the name of her quirk. Now, before I tell you the name of the quirk, essentially she has the power to manipulate petals and make them. She can control where they go, what they do. She can teleport between them, make them super hard like metal. The drawback being that she will get a headache and eventually fall unconscious if she uses her power too much, which is pretty par of the course, I suppose. Does it seem overpowered? I think so, but I don't know what her limits are, or more specifically, what her specific limits are. Aside, that doesn't really matter. There's a lot of overpowered quirks out there in the fandom, custom quirks here and there, whatever. What I'm really disappointed by is what she calls her quirk. It's labeled as a petal manipulation quirk, which, makes sense, looks fine, and she calls it Blossom. Now, if it were up to me, I'd call it something like flower power. Cliche? Yes. Or maybe pedal power, or pedal to the metal, or metal pedal. I like good puns is my point. Anyways, moving on how canon compliant this character could be, and far as I can tell, yeah, sure, they'll exist. Would the other students treat her well? And I think, yeah, My Hero Academia, as far as settings go, seems very optimistic and well-meaning, even with characters who, by all accounts, should be evil, like that one character with the mind control quirk, who's explicitly worries that he's seen as a villain. Everyone in the UA Academy, however, treats him nicely, regardless. I mean, to a lesser degree, look at Mina, the acid alien girl. That's a pretty evil-sounding power, but she's clearly a heroic type person. It's not powers that make the character, as I'm sure you'll all know from watching the anime. So yeah, I could totally see her being applied to canon. Now, is she a main character? Is she main character material? And I'd say yes. Now, I've done this before, where I've asked, is this character a main character? Is it a protagonist? And I will say, every time, yes. You just have to write from their perspective. And this character has the tortured background, wanting to do better. It's a bit cliche, like I've said, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. Yes, they are a protagonist / main character material. Could they be side characters as well? Yeah, they could totally be a side character, a contrast to the main character who has relatively little in the way of dead parents, for example. I mean, honestly, at this point, I'd say it's a rite of ritual to make a role-playing character with dead parents. It's harder to find parents in the role-playing community, honestly. And if it's a high school setting, 99% of the time, yeah, those parents are gonna die. Anyways, would she work well in a tabletop setting? And I'm gonna say not really. Her powers simply just do too much compared to everyone else who's specialized. I mean, Todoroki also has this issue. I mean, he has all that fire, he has all that ice, he can protect, he can attack, and most importantly, he have backstory. Story back. Yeah, that didn't rhyme. That didn't go well. Point is, in a D&D style game, she'd be the wizard. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, nor is this an issue that we haven't seen before, because, once again, D&D, wizards exist. In D&D 3.5 specifically, wizards could do everything else that other characters could. There was almost no point in having them, and the only thing that stopped them from being impossibly good is the fact that they would die at level 1, essentially, without everyone else. Let me put it to you this way. If you have a locked door, how do you get through it? You could A. Use a rogue's lockpicking tools, B. Use a barbarian's raw strength, or C. A wizard's magic. Now, how do you find someone? You gotta use a ranger's tracking skills, or someone's investigational abilities and such like that. Or a wizard could use a spell. You need to take out a group of enemies. You could use a fighter's ability to cleave through them, set up some traps as a ranger, or you can use a wizard's spell. You're seeing the pattern here. Point is, Mary Newbound has solutions for just about every issue that she can possibly come across. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but she would have to be balanced in a tabletop setting. And in that case, I'd probably use her as a side character, as an NPC, just for balance sake, as a boss perhaps for the players to fight, in a friendly fashion, like the UA Academy tournament thing. Now, would she work in a LARP setting? And the answer is absolutely not. Once again, teleportation, right out, would not work in a LARP setting. The ability to scatter a bunch of petals and control them independently, or relatively independently, would not work at all. Now, we can pretend to throw fireballs all days, and we can use foam spell balls and throw them and say, these are just petals that I throw really hard using my superpowers. Yes, that can work, but you can't really do much else other than that. I suppose you can put on traps and say petals activated if you step on them, but verticality and LARP and the ability to fly and whatnot, no, they just don't exist. So that's my analysis of Mary Newbound. Decent character, bit cliche for my tastes, but to each their own, and she's fine. And she was, most importantly, very fun to draw. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the drawing, the video, and everything in between with my commentary. Once again, please subscribe and comment, all that good stuff. Leave a like, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.